Sam,
Hello, mate.
how's things? You good? Can't hear you. Just wait for it to connect. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, perfect, mate. I can hear you.
Brilliant.
You good?
Yeah, I'm sweet as, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, mate. How's lockdown treating you?
To be fair, I've just come in from a tough run. I'm probably doing more running and fitness work than I've ever done, to be fair. And you know, I know it's crazy. Our league officially got cancelled yesterday, so we're kind of in a situation now where we've been beasting ourselves for the last 4 weeks. It was inevitable that it was going to get cancelled, but you just never knew. So,
Of course.
been trying to keep my body ticking over, but now it's like not knowing when the season's going to start back, how long rest do we take? Because inevitably this is the off season, so
Yeah.
it's a tough one, man.
What have they said about non-league football? Have they just kind of cancelled the league and said where it is, or are they going to kind of promote or demote?
Well, the decision made yesterday was the cancellation of just fixtures. I don't think they've come to a conclusion in regards to promotion, relegation. It's at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to keep everyone happy, and it's a tough decision. But I guess you need tough leadership from the top to ultimately make the decision. So there's no one that's going to be completely happy. It's one of them things.
Well, thank you for coming on. I know we've met each other a few times. We've had a few conversations, but not really gone into kind of your football career. So I thought this is perfect time to kind of go into it because you've got very much. I've been trying this week to kind of see, to show people different routes into football. Not just one route to the Prem, and that's all they have. I think this week's been quite good with, you've got Arlo who had on Monday, kind of the academy route as it is. Obviously, Robert Pires, who's been there, done it. And yesterday we had the two coaches, and now we kind of got your journey, which has gone from, from the top back down, back up kind of thing. And then obviously tomorrow is Aaron with, kind of a beach football kind of route. So I think it's quite good to see different people's kind of routes of stuff. So I think yours is a great journey. Just talking to Ashley quite a lot and stuff, and just wanted to get into a few different bits. So, I mean, what age did you start playing football?
So I've been playing football from as early as I can remember, to be fair, since a kid. I've had a ball at my feet. My dad's a passionate football fan, and as young as I can remember, he had me down the park, kicking a ball up against the wall, and he was always enthusiastic. So he got me into grassroots, a club called Watling Boys in Burntoke at about the age of 7. So there I enjoyed many years playing my football, happy, just enjoying. And then discovering later down the line that I wasn't half bad at it, so I was doing okay, and that attracted a few scouts and whatnot, and they would come down and watch, and through various stages I would go on trials to many different clubs, and it was always a no, either not good enough, not big enough, technically not quite there yet. So I had a few setbacks, but thankfully it worked out okay in the end. But I think from about the age of 7 I started playing my football. But I remember my dad used to take me over the park. It must have been about must have been before 7, and my dad thought this boy's got no hope in ever having a chance playing football.
I think that's about my son, to be honest.
I used to go on the grass. And I wouldn't want to get my football boots dirty. So my dad bought me a brand new pair of Puma Kings. They were my first ever boot of Puma Kings. And, I loved them so much. I didn't want to get them dirty. So every time I tiptoed onto the mud, I would tiptoe back onto the concrete. I remember my dad used to get proper frustrated. But now all I do is get muddy, run around and tackle people. So.
Especially, non-league, What age did you sign for Spurs?
I went in as an under 14. No, I was a 14-year-old, got signed as an under 15.
So you went in quite late then?
Very late. I was probably one of, if not the last in my age group to get signed. So I was very fortunate in that regard. Of course, with the mega talented age group that we had and the players that came in and about at that age group, year above, year below, You know,
Do you want to tell people who was actually in that? Because I know there were some top players that are in your kind of age group as well. Tell a couple of people, drop a couple of names that was in there.
There was we had obviously Mason, Andros Townsend, Danny Rose is a year above, Stephen Corker, Dean Parrott, John Bostock, Adam Smith, who's now at Bournemouth, John Abika, obviously Harry Kane was a little bit younger, but in and about, Tom Carroll, Alex Pritchard, you had Yuri Bacic.
So they're all good players that have all gone on to play pro.
Pullum Poku, that have, you know, they've all played in and around Europe at the top level. So, you know, I consider myself very grateful to have came through with that bunch of players. And I've said it before, that the enthusiasm, the tempo, and, you know, the will just to want to get better on a day-to-day basis is what gave us all the best opportunity to have careers at whatever respective level. You know, some have gone on to have top international domestic careers. Some have gone on to have lower league and non-league careers as well. But at the end of the day, I think if you look at the rate of players that have been produced from in and around those age groups, is phenomenal. And at the end of the day, if you can forge a career and, you know, earn a living out of the game, I consider that a success.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's huge just to be in and around them and say them sort of names, isn't it, really? Not everyone's ever going to make it. And, you know, to be in that kind of group or that bracket is phenomenal. And there's some good, you know, some good players in there.
Yeah, no, they've done all right.
What's your earliest football memory?
Earliest football memory, cool. Like I said, I'd say obviously Dad taking us over the park and, you know, getting me loving the game and just enjoying the ball, and that, you know, that's where my passion came. He used to take me to, you know, various Premier League games or Premiership games back then. So, you know, I developed a strong passion at an early age. I think grassroots football as well, the club that I was at, and the boys that I came up with, you know, they were brilliant, and, you know, I really enjoyed my football there. I remember playing a tournament over in Mill Hill, which is not too far from where I live now, and I remember it was a little five-a-side tournament. We got to the final, we lost it. I remember sobbing my eyes out. You never forget that as a 7-year-old. So that would be probably, like, competitively, that was probably my earliest memory.
Good stuff. And why did you start playing? Was it for, you know, for social, or was it your dad just thought I'd get him into a team and see how he progresses, or?
No, it's all I ever wanted to do. You know, I was extremely passionate about football, and, you know, I'd watch my dad's old cassette tapes back, and, you know, all kinds of videos. I would literally remember all the commentary from those videos and replay them back every morning before school. I'd have the videos on and, you know, rewinding them back every day until. So
you did have a proper passion to go, and, you know, you wanted to be a footballer from that young age. You sort of knew
all I wanted to
you
do,
wanted
mate.
to go.
100%. I used to collect all the little figurines, and, you know, I had the book of caricatures and stuff, which you know, I loved. I loved drawing, and, you know, all I ever wanted to do was, you know, have my name on the back of my shirt. I know we don't have them on the back of the shirt in non-league, but yeah.
Do you still enjoy playing now?
I do. It's, for me, I don't care whatever level you're playing at. It is the best thing to do. For me, it's the best release in the world. You know, obviously, I'm coaching alongside it now. But for me, nothing will ever compare to playing the game. And at times, it does get harder now. You know, I'm coming up to 30, so I guess the body doesn't recover quite like it used to. You know, sometimes it can be frustrating. You know, at times, you know, some of the pitches and, you know, facilities aren't
as good as what
maybe what you've been used to, you know, with your upbringing. But, you know, it's an honour, and I'm grateful to still be playing, and, like I said, earning a living out of the game. I'm very humbled and grateful. And, you know, a lot of people say, you know, Coxie, you're playing at National League, National South level. But, you know, for me, it doesn't matter. I'm blessed to be playing the game. There's so many people out there that would love to be playing at whatever level. And, you know, I'm going to keep playing for as long as I can.
Yeah, I mean, I try to get that into some of our kids, even, you know, the 16-year-olds that are kind of coming up to 17. And, all they want to do is they think they have to be in a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 kind of academies. And I say to them, that's not always the way. You can go to some good non-league teams and work your way back into it,
Of course.
There's some good stories around that have come from non-league. And I think a lot more people are looking more non-league now and looking to come up. So,
no, sure.
Who was the standout player for Spurs when you was coming through? Do you remember anyone that was kind of the standout, that was the best sort of player? Because I was actually looking on your profile pictures earlier, and I noticed there was a few players. I don't know if everyone was kind of the younger ones remember. There was a certain Giovanni Dos Santos I see in one picture.
No, Gio came in a bit later, so I think I was a second year scholar when Gio came in. But he was brought in from Barcelona to play in the first team, so. I wouldn't consider him someone that I came up with.
No, but he was in and around. You trained with him. You trained with the first team, didn't you, and stuff like that as well, obviously.
Yeah, I was. It was sporadic, and my opportunities with the first team were very limited. Of course, with the talent that was coming up with me, and some of the boys that were playing in the first team at the time. I think the mentality of the club was just changing. I feel. And there was definitely building something for the future, and some of the boys that came up, and for me the standout names. There was, for me, the best player coming up was Terry Dixon. In terms of talent.
Yeah. I remember actually. Yeah, and what happened to him?
Tell was
did he have an injury?
Yeah, he was very unlucky with injuries. He had troubles with his knees.
I do remember his name actually being mentioned quite a lot, because obviously I'm a Spurs fan, so I do remember quite a few of them sort of names coming along.
Yeah, in terms of talent, Tell was up there, I'm sure, with the best in the world. I remember coming in as a young trialist, and Tell was always the one that you feared. And I remember specifically my first session with the academy after doing the development centres, and my first day. Tell was training, and he was a standard bearer. That was the standard. He was a demo man, and I know obviously coaching now you get the best players to do the demos.
Yeah.
And Tell was the demo man, and I ended up having to mark him when we went into the fivers. And me being me, I'm I don't know if you know, but I'm
a bit rough.
I'm the one that runs around and kicks people and passes it easy. So. Obviously, being a young trialist, I'm out there to impress, and I'm marking Big Tell now. And the first tackle, I remember coming right down his Achilles, and I remember just Tell had a mouth on him as well, and he gave me some proper stick after that. And I thought, sorry, man.
Who was the first team manager who was coming through? Was it Harry Redknapp? I think it was, wasn't it?
No, it was Martin Yole.
Oh, it was Martin Yole when you were coming through. And what was he like as a first team coach?
Brilliant.
Was he?
He was Martin was a top manager, manager of players. Like, his man management was brilliant, and he was really pivotal, I think, for a lot of us youngsters.
I think pivotal for the club. He kind of started the road that we're on kind of now, isn't it? Really? Yeah,
Martin was brilliant. And I remember, as a schoolboy, after getting signed, I remember, we just started the day release program. So we was inevitably missing 3 periods of school. I remember I'd do my German lesson. And straight after German, I would go in, travel it down to the old Spurs Lodge, and we would do our day release. And, it's a bit different now, the program. But back then, literally, we would come in, get dressed, have a bit of lunch, and then we would go out and we'd be training with the first team in the afternoon. So it was crazy. So I'd gone from playing grassroots, school football, borough football, and then, in the afternoons we was training with the first team with the likes of Berbatov, Defoe, Tom Huddleston.
Must have been unreal. The players that you kind of grew up watching, and suddenly you're in a training session with them.
Oh, mate, it was a surreal experience, to be fair, looking back at it. And I look back now with fond memories, but I would go into school the next day and they'd be like, "Coxie, where did you go? Where did you miss? You missed 3 periods of class." I got to train with the first.
I did all right, yeah.
Nobody ever believed me, but it was it was quite surreal, but great memories, and a top experience for a young 15, 16-year-old to be training with the first team. And Martin Yell was brilliant like that. He was brilliant with the youth team boys and the school boys coming in and being in and about the first team. And his assistant as well, Ricardo Moniz, Dutch coach, he still goes down as, you know, for me, one of the best coaches that I've ever had for sure.
Is there a reason you think he hasn't got kind of another job since Martin Yell? Seems to kind of, he's with, I know he's with Alan Pardry now, isn't he? I think he's the director of football or something over there with them.
Yeah. He did. What did he do after Spurs? Did he go on to Fulham? Was it?
Yeah.
He went to Fulham, and then I think he went back to Holland.
Because I always rated him as a Spurs coach. I always thought he was, you know, he had something about him, didn't he? Sort of thing.
He was he was a great human as well, which is very important for any coach. And he was a great guy. So, you know, props to him. And you know, football managing is tough.
Of course.
You know, it's a tough gig, and you know, if you don't quite get it right with a couple of jobs, you know, jobs are few and far between.
Yeah.
You know, after those, so you know, it's very tough.
Kind of where you're at, sort of thing, as well. Where you was, if you don't take your opportunity, sometimes you might not get that kind of second one, isn't it? Really, that's what kind of with Martin Yell. I think it's the same sort of thing. If that second job, it didn't quite go. Yeah. So you went on to Spurs, and then obviously, what happened? Was you just not offered a contract as a first team sort of thing?
Well, no, I did my scholar, and then I was offered a pro. So I signed my pro in 2009 or 10, I think it was. And yeah, it was kind of a transition again of the old reserve league. The year we became pros, they took us out of the reserve league and put us into. There was no real league for us.
Just friendly sort of thing or whatever. Just like set up games and stuff, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, it was like development games.
Yeah.
So that was tough. There was also the transition of, you know, Clive was the reserve manager. He then found himself up with the first team. So there was no real reserve group because a lot of our boys, they were out on loan and they were good enough to go on loan. A lot of my age group, obviously Andros, Ryan, Smithy, Bostock, you know, a lot of those boys, they was all out on loan. So I remember at one stage there was only me and Callum Butcher in the whole of reserve and the reserves. And you know, we're too old for the youth team and probably not developed enough to, you know, be in and amongst the first team. So we was kind of in limbo, which was tough and difficult. And Tim Sherwood and Les were just starting to come in. And yeah, I eventually went on loan to Cheltenham with Martin Allen, who I've had as manager 3 times since.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had Martin 3 times. And yeah, went to Torquay under Paul Buckle. And, you know, it's always hard and difficult for a young pro to then go into a League 2 relegation dogfight. Physically, I wasn't ready. Mentally, probably I wasn't ready. Probably needed a bit more time to develop. And ultimately, when I'd come back from those loans, and the decision was made that I wasn't going to be kept on for the following season, which was tough to take because again, from coming in at a later stage, you know, I did feel I probably needed a bit more time to develop physically. I was still a little, you know, skinny 19, 20-year-old with nothing on me. And yeah, I probably would have liked to have had a bit longer to develop, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And, you know, I got on with it, and that was that.
And you went on to kind of non-league where you're at now. I just want to ask you a quick question on that. What do you think it kind of takes to kind of stay at the top? Because, you know, you got the mentality sort of side, you got the talent sort of side, but you've also, I think you've got to take into consideration sometimes who the manager is. Because I always remember a good story about, I won't say who it is, but a player that was at Watford, a professional, I don't know. And he was about to be sold to a non-league team.
Wow.
The coach was sacked. Brendan Rodgers comes in. He loves him. He ends up going on to captain Manchester United. Yeah, you know, and that's a story that I've been told quite a few times, you know, and I think, you know, that does it make a big difference, do you think, you know, certain managers, if they like you kind of thing, they would kind of stick you around.
Of course, but it's like any job at the end of the day. If there's going to be, I think everybody remembers, you know, particular coaches or particular mentors or life coaches, whatever you may call it, whatever industry that, you know, have taken a real liking to you. And if you do find that someone that you connect with, then, you know, you're laughing.
Mm.
So yeah, it is a lot. Of course, a lot of it is luck and timing, but you have to put that work in. You have to put the graft in to earn that opportunity and to gain the manager's trust at the end of the day. But like I said, if a manager does like you, you know, cool, you're laughing. So, yeah, it's one of them.
So you're playing non-league now, and I think it's an unbelievable achievement, kind of what happened last year. How did that come about? How did you get to, you know, number one, to get scouted for your country at a non-league level, and then to go on to captain them? I think we'll go on to talk about that in a minute. But how did that come about to be scouted for your country at a non-league?
Yeah, it was it's unbelievable, you know, experience what happened in the summer. And you know, initially I think I've been playing them for Guyana now for 5-6 years, and it came about when I was at Boreham Wood, and you know, we'd been having a good season. We actually went up that year, and I think I went on to get Chairman's Player of the Year or something like that. And I was doing okay, you know, I was playing week in, week out, enjoying my football. And we actually had a player, Ricky Shakes, at the time, who was a Guyanese international. And you know, I never knew too much about Guyanese football. I remember always being keen and, you know, looking it up on Google and checking to see how I was getting on. But, you know, as a young player, you know, you don't really hear about the Guyana international football. So it was that season, you know, we went on to go up through the playoffs. And I remember, I think halfway through that season, Shakesy said, you know, there may be an opportunity with you come season end, when we've got World Cup qualifiers, that you might, you know, be in for a squeeze. And I said, fine, you know, that would be brilliant. I remember, you know, Faisal Khan, who was player recruitment, he came down to watch a few games, and he said, look, you need to get your passport sorted out, because there could be an opportunity. So I had to sort out all my papers with, you know, obviously my mum's side of the family. So I had to get my granddad's birth certificate and get all that in place, just in case I did get called up, in hope. And you know, come season end, I got a call from the gaffer, Jamal Shabazz, and he said, you know, we'd like to call you up. So for me, that was an unbelievable achievement. You know, first of all, which of course made my family so proud. Nan, bless her soul, she passed away in October, but you know, I remember the joy on her face when she found out that I'd be representing the country that she was born in. So you know, that was something I look back now as one of my biggest achievements. And you know, it's been such an experience, man. I can't express how humbling it's been to go back, reconnect with my roots, and you know, have the opportunity to represent a country. It's an unbelievable feeling, and you know, one I never take for granted. And you know, it's been an unbelievable journey.
Yeah, so going on from that is, you know, last year, which was absolutely massive. I'm not sure how many people probably know about the Concave. You know, but it's obviously the version of, you know, the European Cup for England, sort of thing, and stuff like that. But there's still some, you know, some big names that are playing in that. There's some big countries still playing in that. I mean, in your group was USA, weren't it?
Yeah.
How did that feel going out? Because how many fans were, you know, you played USA, that must have been the biggest game of your life. That was, sort of thing.
Do you know what? You know, it was without a doubt, but I remember not being nervous going into the tournament at all. It was almost a feeling of excitement and anticipation. I mean, I was never nervous.
Was that because no one expected too much from you as well? So there weren't really no sort of pressure on you, or was it just taking in the occasion?
I don't think it had anything to do with the pressure. I just think, you know, it was like everything that I'd been working for, in terms of, you know, when I first got called up to Guyana, I made a vow to myself that, you know, by the end of